Hello everyone. Hello everyone. As I promised that I will be launching a series of heredity and evolution. So I'm here with introduction part of the chapter. Here I will be introducing you with the concept of what is heredity, which branch of science heredity belongs to. Okay, then we will learn about who is known as father of genetics and for what he is called father of genetics, what is heredity, what is variation. So everything I will be covering today in today's session. So let's start with the session without wasting the time. Okay, so here I am. Okay. So children, I hope my whiteboard is visible to everyone. So here let's start. What are we going to talk about is heredity. Okay, heredity and evolution. Okay. So children, we will go one by one. First, we will talk about heredity and the concepts related to heredity. Then we will move ahead towards the evolution. Okay. So before starting with the topic, let me introduce you with term genetics. Okay. So what is genetics basically? As you know that science is very vast and it has several branches. Okay. So genetics is one of the branch of the science. Okay. So you can define genetics as branch of science dealing with the study of heredity and variations. Okay. Now let's go one by one. First, we will talk about heredity. Heredity is basically transfer of characters from parents to their offsprings. Okay. Now, as you all can observe this, okay, some of your characters resemble to your mother, some of characters do resemble to your fathers. Okay, also you have certain characters which resembles to your grandparents. Okay, so this is all because of heredity. The characters are transmitted from one generation to another generation and they are expressing themselves in the offspring, that is known as heredity. Okay, and then when we talk about variation, so variation is the changes. Okay, the differences. Okay, we are not exact copy of our parents, right? Some of the characters are different from the parents, that is variation. And the characters which resemble to the parent is known as heredity. And the branch of science which is dealing with the study of heredity and variation is known as genetics. Okay, so here in this topic heredity, we are going to talk about what is heredity. Okay, the character, then we talk about genes. So gene is a functional unit of heredity. Because of gene only, the characters are transmitted from the parents to their offspring. Okay, so because of genes, so that's why we call it a functional unit of genes. Okay, so how, where these genes are located. Okay, and then we will talk about the principles of inheritance. Okay, there are three principles of inheritance on the basis of which the characters are passing from one generation to another. And who proposed these principles? So there was a scientist known as Rigger John Mendel, and because of his great contribution in the branch of heredity and or in the branch of genetics, he is known as father of genetics. Okay, because of his great contribution. So he proposed three laws. So before proposing laws, he like researched a lot and he came across the pair of contrasting characters Then he study how the contrasting characters are getting inherited or transmitted from one generation to another, and how they are expressing themselves from one generation to another. Like for first generation, which character was visible or expressed, and in the next generation, what character expressed itself. So before going to the tough and all these concepts, let us first understand about the heredity characters. Okay, so um, first, Mendel worked a lot to come across the laws of inheritance. Okay, so he proposed three laws: law of dominance, law of segregation, and law of independent assortment. Okay, these three laws are basically principles of inheritance. Okay, now before proposing these three laws, he performed various experiments, and then he selected garden pea plant for his experiment. Okay, why he selected garden pea plant for his experiment? This is one of the questions that is frequently asked in the board examination, that why Mendel selected garden pea plant for his experiment. So first, I'm going to write the first reason, that short life cycle. Okay, short life cycle, that means many of the generations can be observed in a short time period. That's why that is one of the reason. Then presence of bisexual flower. Okay, that means the male and female reproductive system are there in the same flower, so pure lines can be observed. Okay, so presence of bisexual flower. Okay, then pure lines can be obtained. Okay, next is, when we talk about pure lines, then number of contrasting characters. Okay, availability of number of contrasting character is also one of the reason, because of which Pisum sativum is selected for, was selected for his experiment. Okay, so presence of contrasting characters. Okay, so these are few reasons because of which Mendel selected his for his experiment garden pea plant. Okay, then three laws he proposed. He proposed law of dominance. Then he proposed law of segregation. Then law of independent assortment. Okay, these three laws he proposed. Now, before moving ahead towards the laws, let me explain you term dominance and recessive. Okay, so the character which is capable of expressing itself in one generation is known as dominant characters. Okay, and the characters which are not capable of expressing themselves are recessive. Okay, so here two terms, that is dominant and recessive. Okay, now for example, that my mother has brown eyes and my father has black eyes, and I have brown eyes, that means the character that has expressed in me is brown eyes, right? So that character is a dominant character, but that black eyes, because it couldn't express in me, that is called recessive characters. Okay, so the character that is capable of expressing itself in the first generation is known as dominant characters, and this, on this only the law of dominance was based. Now Mendel performed crosses. Okay, he performed crosses, because of which he proposed these, the conclusion of these crosses are these laws only. Okay, so he performed monohybrid cross and dihybrid cross. Okay, so crosses, monohybrid, dihybrid. Also, he proposed some test, he performed some test crosses. Okay, now these are some terms you will come across in your higher grades. For now, I guess monohybrid and dihybrid is also not that that much expanded form is given to you in your textbooks. Mono means single. When Mendel selected only one pair of character for the cross, that is monohybrid, and dihybrid when he selected two pair of characters. Now these characters are always there in the pairs. Okay, so like whenever you talk about a character, like you are talking about tallness, so you will always write tallness like this. You will never write this. This is not the correct form of writing the like whenever you are performing any cross. So you will always, the first thing you will be writing is the characters in the pair. If you will write only single alphabet, that means it is wrong. This thing you need to keep in your mind. First, the other thing is, like, if you are taking tallness as capital T, so dwarfness, which is a recessive character, will be written as small t. You will not write D. Okay, you will always take the same alphabet, but the dominants were always written in a capital form, whereas the recessives are always written in a small form. Okay, so I hope you are clear with how to write dominant and how to write recessive characters. What are three laws which were proposed by Mendel? How and why Mendel selected garden pea plant for his experiment? What is heredity? What is variation? Now I'll meet you in the next part soon with the more explanation of the topic. Thank you so much. Bye bye.